Hi everyone, my name is Nitin. I'm an experienced OET trainer. In this video, I'll teach you some strategies that you can use to improve your scoring in OET listening part A. In listening part A, we hear two audio extracts which are conversations between a patient and a healthcare professional. The healthcare professional can be a doctor, a nurse, a physiotherapist, or even an occupational therapist. And from each audio extract, a set of 12 questions are asked. We need to listen to the audio carefully and answer each question. Before each extract starts, we have 30 seconds preparation time. We need to utilize that effectively. In this video, I'll be specifically teaching you how to utilize those 30 seconds. So let's start the video. Firstly, it is very important to read each and every bullet points. Do not limit your reading to bullet points that contains a question. Because by reading every bullet point, you will get an idea of what you will be listening to in the audio. Also, you will understand the condition of the patient exactly. Secondly, when you come across a bullet point with a question, make sure you understand what exactly the question is asking you to find out. Means which piece of information is lacking in that bullet point. Okay, now let's start reading the question paper. Firstly, you can see the patient's name is mentioned, which is Sarah Croft. Then medical history of the patient is given. Firstly, you can see that the patient has hypertension which has recently worsened. That is pretty clear. Moving on to the next bullet point, 3 years of corticosteroid treatment for DASH. So this bullet point has a question. Now, try to figure out what exactly or which piece of information is the question is asking you to find out. You know that the patient has been receiving corticosteroid treatments for 3 years for something. For something means what? Actually, the answer will be a medical condition because it is for the medical condition that a patient takes corticosteroid treatment. Now, you can maybe from your knowledge recollect the conditions that require corticosteroid treatment. You can do some kind of guessworks when you read the question paper. So, answer to the first question is a medical condition. That's pretty clear. Now, moving forward, next is general symptoms of the patient. You can see that the first bullet point says the patient experiences or the patient has been experiencing gradual weight gain, especially in stomach area. That is clear. And the next bullet point says dash on face embarrassing. So here, find out what is the question asking us to take from the audio. Dash on face, that means the patient has some kind of symptoms on face. Note that preposition on. On means on the surface, something that is visible on the face and it is causing embarrassment for the patient. So what are the symptoms a patient can develop on face that can lead to embarrassment? You can make guesses. It includes acne, pimple, mole, bruises, cuts, marks and so on. So that's clear, I hope. The next bullet point says visible dash between the shoulders. So the patient also has a symptom between shoulders which is visible. So something that is visible is there between the shoulders of the patient. So here also you can make guesses. The answer, whatever the symptom is, it is visible. That means it is on the skin or it is on the surface and it is visible. So you can make guesses. The answer here also can be bruises, marks, maybe stretch marks and so on. Next one says that the patient has swelling in her ankles. And make sure you don't write swelling as the answer for question 15. Some students makes that and that's the reason why I always insist to follow bullet points rather than the question. Because if you do that, such mistakes won't happen. The next one says that the patient has excessive and constant dash. That means there is a certain symptom or a condition the patient is experiencing excessively and constantly. And what would be that? For example, it can be fatigue, excessive and constant fatigue, or it can be tiredness. But here, tiredness won't come as an answer because tiredness is already mentioned in the case note as a bullet point. So tiredness won't come as an answer. So what are the other guesses? Excessive and constant maybe pain, excessive and constant ache. All those are possibilities. Moving to the next one, backache. The patient experiences backache. Here also make sure that you don't write backache as the answer for question 16. So that's the reason why it is important to follow the bullet points rather than the question, because if you follow the questions only, there's a chance that you jump from 16 to 17 and miss the backache completely, and you may mistakenly write backache as the answer for 16 or 17. So make sure you don't do that mistake. Okay, now next one, periods are dash. So here whatever the answer for 17 is describing the menstrual cycle of the or menstruation of the patient. So period or dash, what are the possibilities? We say that periods are heavy. If the patient experiences heavy bleeding, heavy will come as the answer. Or period are painful. Okay, painful can be the answer. There are also the other possibilities like periods are regular, irregular, and so on. So next one is extreme tiredness. That's pretty clear. Now following the next towards the next one, it is stating the psychological symptoms of the patient. First bullet point says that the patient is mildly depressed, and the second one says scared by new experiences of dash. That means patient has started to experience some kind of psychological symptoms which are recent, and patient is scared because of that. So here also the answer will be a psychological symptom like depressed. Depressed won't be the answer because it is already mentioned that the patient experiences that. What are the other psychological symptoms? It can be anxiousness, scared by new experience of anxiousness or nervousness, or it can be maybe memory loss or anger, sadness. So these are the possibilities that can come there. Next one, feels constantly dash. Here it says that patient is feeling constantly some kind of emotion. So what are the possibilities? We can see that feels constantly angry, feels constantly sad, or it can even be feels constantly frustrated, or feels constantly irritated. So these are the possibilities. The last one says that the patient has intermittent cognitive difficulties. Okay, so I hope the question paper is clear for you. So like this, when you read the question paper, cover all the bullet points, understand the condition of the patient like a story. Also, when you come across the bullet point which carries a blank or empty space, try to understand that or try to figure out what that part is asking you to find out. You need to have that awareness, because without that you won't know what to search for in the audio. Now I'll play the audio, try to figure out the answers, and after that we can discuss the answers together.
Good morning, Mrs. Croft. I see your GP has referred you to me.
Yes.
OK. Well, I've got some notes here with his referral letter, but it'd be helpful if you could tell me in your own words the sort of problems you've been experiencing.
OK, well, I've had high blood pressure for several years, but these last few months that's tending to get worse. I've been on corticosteroids too these last 3 years or so, and that's a result of the fact that I've suffered from asthma since my teens.
I see. But I understand you've developed several other problems recently.
Yeah, as you can see, my stomach is huge. I've put on a lot of weight and it seems to be concentrated there. And, I don't know what's happened to my face. All this hair which has appeared, it's so embarrassing. And something else which I didn't notice at first, but which other people have pointed out to me, here, see, in between my shoulders, is this, well, I can only describe it as a hump. That really bothers me too.
Yes, I can see.
And look at my ankles, they're swollen too. Something else which has got really bad is that I'm also sweating so much, even in cold weather. No amount of antiperspirant seems to help.
Yeah, that must be difficult. And any aches or pains?
Well, my back tends to ache a bit, but I take ibuprofen, which helps.
Good.
My periods used to be painful in the past, but to be honest, they're so infrequent now that the pain really isn't a problem anymore. I often feel tired, though. In fact, like really tired.
Have you noticed your general mood changing at all?
Well, it's enough to get anyone down, really. And yes, I do feel a bit depressed. But the frightening thing is that I've started getting mood swings. I've never had them before. I mean, 1 minute I'm laughing and the next I'm crying, and I don't know why. It's quite alarming.
Anything else?
Well, I confess I feel, irritable all the time. Everything seems to get on my nerves, and I can't seem to concentrate like I used to. You know, I find it hard sometimes to do stuff in my head, like working out a sum or remembering names and things. I just hope that you can find out what's wrong with me.
Well, I'm sure we will.
Now we can start discussing the answers. We'll start with the first one. Question number first is a medical condition for which the patient has been taking corticosteroid treatment for last 3 years, isn't it? Now I'll display the script along with the question. You read through the script. So by reading the script, we can get to know that the patient says the patient has had blood pressure for several years. That is already mentioned in the bullet point. And it says that that's tending to get worse. That is also mentioned. Then comes our answer. I have been on corticosteroid too these last 3 years or so, and that's a result of the fact that I have suffered from asthma since teens. So what is our answer? Asthma is the answer, because the patient has been experiencing or has been having asthma since her teenage, and for that the patient has been taking corticosteroids for the last 3 years. So our answer is asthma. Now we'll move to the next part. What is our next question? So it's asking dash on face embarrassing. So next question is a symptom that the patient has on her face, and that is causing her embarrassment. I'll display that part also. You go through that. So here you can see that so the information about weight is given, and after that you can see, and oh dear, I don't know what's happening to my face. All this hair which has appeared, it's so embarrassing. So what is causing the embarrassment? It is the hair. Okay, so our answer is hair. Moving to the next one. Next one is visible dash between the shoulders. So if you look at the script, you can see that the patient says, you can see that in between my shoulders, I can only describe it as a hump. That really bothers me too. So the patient has hump between her shoulders. So our answer is hump. Okay, now moving to the next one. Excessive and constant dash. So that part, the patient says that something else which has got really bad is that I am always sweating so much, even in cold weather. No amount of antiperspirant seems to work. The word excessive is replaced by so much, and you can see that the constant is replaced by even in cold weather. When the patient says even in cold weather she sweats, that means constantly the patient is experiencing that symptom. And now our last question is a description of the period. Here you can see the patient says, my periods used to be painful in the past, but to be honest, they are so infrequent now that the pain really isn't a problem anymore. At least some of you have written the answer as painful, but that's wrong. Here the patient says that in the past, periods were painful, but the question is asking the present description, and for that the patient says it is so infrequent. What's the meaning of infrequent? It means irregular. So our answer is infrequent. Okay, I hope that's clear. Now we'll move to the psychological symptoms. Here you can see that the first question is asking us to find out which experience is scaring the patient. The patient has started to experience something new, and that is scaring her. And what is that? You can see the script on the screen. Firstly, she says that she is depressed, and she goes on saying that, but the frightening thing is that I have started getting mood swings. I have never had them before. I mean, 1 minute I am laughing and the next I am crying, and I don't know why. It's quite alarming. So what is scaring her? Her mood swings are scaring her. She says that it is alarming. Okay, so our answer is mood swings. Moving on to the next one. The patient feels constantly dash. So which psychological symptom is the patient feeling constantly? So in the script it says that, well, I confess I feel irritable all the time. So what is the patient experiencing constantly irritable? The word constantly is replaced by all the time. Okay, so our answer is irritable. And this is how you need to attempt your OET listening part A. And guessing and predicting answer type and answers are very important, because it will get you an understanding, or it will give you an idea what you need to search for in the audio. So make sure that you cover every points in the case note of the patient. Because else you will lose the track between audio and the questions, and at the end audio will be playing at some part and you will be looking at the wrong part of your question paper. So make sure you practice like this. I hope this video will be helpful for you. See you in the next video. Thank you.